to this meeting of the Utilities and Roading Committee, and we'll ask for any apologies, please. Apologies? Any conflicts of interest today? No. Confirmation of minutes of the meeting held on Tuesday the 16th of April. Are there any comments on that? Would you like to move, Councillor Williams? Seconded, Councillor Redmond. All those in favour of accepting those minutes, please say aye. Aye. Any matters arising from the minutes? Appears to be none. Deputation, presentations, 0. 5.1, we go now to reports. 190 High Street, bin storage, issues and options. Vanessa, welcome. Where is she? Vanessa, good morning.
This morning. Just waiting.
Wait,
Straight up?
yes, you're straight up. How about that? Oh. Welcome aboard.
Okay.
Good morning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Committee, for having us today. We have a report in front of you that relates to current bins storage issue relating to the tenants at 190 High Street, which is the development across the road here. And the purpose of this report is to inform you of that and to seek your approval of the action. Apologies, my breathing now rushing down the stairs. We're hoping that it's okay to spend a couple of minutes just going over the key components of the report. There's a lot in there, and there's particularly the background and the risks relating to setting a precedent we're really keen to discuss. So, both staff and elected members have been approached by tenants of the new development over recent times, and we've been made aware of a lack of curbside collection bin storage within the site there. The report in particular discusses 3 options, and we strongly recommend the adoption of option 1, which is to maintain that the property owner is responsible for managing storage on site or by other means. We did consider a bunch of other options thoroughly in the report, including enabling a privately managed compound on council land or providing council compound on council land. While we really do sympathise with the concerns that have been raised by tenants, there are 2 things that we think are particularly important to take away from this report before a decision. And those are just being really well aware of the background that sits behind this issue. The other one is around the risk of setting a precedent in this space. So regarding the background, staff have worked particularly closely with the developer of the building across the road over the last couple of years around the design and the build of that development, including the new Honeybell Lane, the car park that sits behind it, both through a development process and a consenting process. And I will pause and say that that development has added a huge appeal to the town centre. We have made the developer aware on several occasions that it's his responsibility to ensure that there's adequate provision made for tenants in storage on site, particularly when we learned that Posty Plus was entering into a lease agreement. Great anchor tenant, though we were well aware of the additional waste storage needs that that particular tenant carries, given their previous location and some issues that we had around bins at that location. The issue around bin storage in the development was specifically queried also during the building consent application process. And we received, or our colleagues in the building unit received, a reply from the developer that designated storage would be provided within individual tenancies at that time, and that they would therefore then just be taken out to Blake Street for collection. We also had a meeting last year with the developer and the Posty Plus manager before they moved in on site to discuss the issue before they moved in. Again, staff confirmed the same message at those meetings, and we also discussed several options with them of other ways that they could possibly consider looking after the bin needs, such as discussing site opportunities with neighbouring property owners, or using a different commercial waste company that could come more regularly and potentially suit smaller bins. So we reiterated that same message several times with the developer during several meetings that have been held with staff in the building unit, the waste unit, our strategy business unit, also senior managers and the CEO himself. While we do have one existing compound on council land, that's in the Blake Street car park there, that was approved outside of the normal council response processes and is intended to be temporary. And the reason for that was at that point in time, there was a stage 2 proposed that would see a car parking building that would be able to house waste storage within that, and for various reasons that have been reported to council since, that has not gone ahead. There are many other examples included in the report around private compounds built on private land. Typically they would sacrifice car parking. Lastly, I'll just quickly go over the risk of setting a precedent. There's very little limited public land that's available for this sort of purpose in the town centre, and it would require removing car parking in that car parking area that we know through our survey work and the parking management plan we've recently adopted experiences among the highest occupancy rates in our town centre at peak times. Compounds are not generally considered attractive or the best use of public land, and importantly, if the council chose to resolve rubbish storage matters for one development, it could send a real message to the development community that the council is accepting responsibility for this going forward. It could have serious implications for other future developments, and it could certainly raise the expectation that an outcome sought for 190 High Street could be sought by other future developers as well. So we fully considered, as I mentioned, other options, including also extending the existing compound that is within the north of High Blake Street car park area, consolidating curbside collection bins into larger volume skips. However, even with that as an option that sits inside of option 2, there are several issues just to be aware of when you do discuss this. It would require removing at least 3 public car parks from that parking area, because particularly Postie Plus's needs for skips is very high. It would reduce space in there for the existing owner of 188 High Street, who is the actual owner of that compound we provide a licence to occupy for the land, and it would force them into a commercial skip arrangement at their own cost, though we would still need to continue to rate them for bins under the rating legislation. And again, it sets that precedent for also being open to leasing car parks, even if we were looking at a return or a lease fee on an annual rate for private use. That would be quite inconsistent with our previous response to such requests that we've had, that we get quite regularly around private developments or businesses seeking to lease public car parking. And that's really staff protecting that parking asset for continued access to shoppers and users of the town centre, which supports local businesses and importantly therefore does not compromise our existing level of service to the wider community. And of course it could create requests from other building owners as well to look at sharing that compound, which just continues to have consequences for the wider area and the amenity outcome we continue to try to protect. So while staff would be happy to work in our existing capacity to support tenants' needs, recognising and having sympathy for this issue that they're facing at the moment, and we could do that through our solid waste unit and our business support unit, but certainly for the reasons outlined in this report, we do recommend the adoption of option 1, which is to ensure that the council does not have a role in private development's waste storage need in order to continue to protect our current level of service. Apologies for the long preamble, it was an important amount of context to go through with that, and now we're more than happy to take questions.
First question.
Thank you. And thank you for the comprehensive report. This is a very complex issue that's involved a lot of staff effort and time. Mr. Winborn, just to query up front, was Mr. Winborn advised the report was coming today, and was he offered the opportunity to speak if he wished?
He is aware this report was going to committee, and he's aware of the opportunity to speak, because in the past there had been, if you remember, Council, the Conway Lane, for example, some of the private developers came along to speak to.
Was he offered the opportunity to speak to them?
I didn't have that conversation personally, it was somebody else in the property team, but I was certainly aware that the committee was discussing this matter today. I was very happy to hear that.
Okay. There's broader issues at play here with storage in other areas as well. Was it thought, considered whether or not to bring this as a workshop first before, so there was an opportunity for a more frank discussion of those before a decision making? It's not only just here, we've got an issue in Kaiapoi, we've got an issue in other parts, there's some broader things at play here, rather than just bringing a report here. Was it considered whether a workshop may be more appropriate in the first instance?
What staff did, given the history of that conversation and the issue that had reared its head, is in the first instance we brought it to the management team discussion, and then follow the recommendation from management team to bring a report here. That's not to say that a workshop can follow a report could lie on the table. So I might have other comments there.
Just to say, I suppose the report really follows the practice and the policies of council in terms of how we utilise public spaces. I guess we could have a workshop. We're very happy to bring a workshop to council if you wanted us to look at how we would utilise public spaces going forward. We could absolutely do that. We have a public spaces policy really to be designed as well, and that may or may not engage that topic as well.
So just many of us have been approached, well, I have, by tenants, by individual. I don't really feel comfortable to delve into the report today until heard from the. I would like to have heard from all the colleagues to also have heard from Mr. Wing if he wanted to. But it's the broader issue that I'm concerned about here. So I am minded to move that this lay on the table pending a workshop and for the opportunity for Mr. Wingborn to speak and tenants if they wish to speak to the council at some point before we make a decision, because it's just good process. So that's what I'm moved. Sorry, pardon me. I would recommend that this lay on the table pending before we make a decision. And there's a really good report here, by the way. Just saying. There's a second that Madam Chair.
Do we have a second of that? Yes, Kerry.
There's actually a precedent setting which the staff are worried about in this situation. We would bring out a report or have a workshop and just listen to Andrew Wingborn. We'd have to do that with every shop in Rangiora and start looking at wider waste disposal option. The one that we've only looked at is loss of car parks. There has to be in the vicinity, so that's the type of weighing up that we have to do. The staff are staying quite rigid on this one because it was approved from a resource consent, and this would be reversing that resource consent decision. When this development was put ahead, it was known right from day one waste would have to be contained on that site, just like every other shop owner in the Rangiora central business area. So we'd be opening up a can of worms if we start to go out there and offer refuse services that isn't contained on the site. That's just the options that we'd be looking at.
Just for the record, I'm not suggesting we do that. I just think there needs to be a broader. We need to understand what was arranged in the current compound that sits there, why that was agreed, what the terms were before we make a decision. That's all I'm seeking. Mr. Wimborne chooses to come or not, that's his business. But I think there needs to be a broader discussion. We understand all that before we make a call. I'm not suggesting what the staff are recommending is incorrect. But there is other issues at play here. We just need to make sure we consider that first. That's why I suggested that on the table.
Is there any other questions or comments, or does anyone would like to second Mayor's motion? Okay. Are you all happy with option one, or is that what we'd like to Councillor Williams?
I'd like to ask a couple of questions on what the situation is 188 High Street and Conway Lane. When does the licence to occupy run out? Are they paying for that site with the council, etc.? So I'd like to know more details on exactly what they're doing, because in my book, that is the precedent's already been set to a degree. So,
I'll hand over to Lisa because Mr. Harkin might just have some more detail on the specifics of the lease or the license occupied. I'll just suggest background to that compound. It was actually that when Conway Lane was developed, it was stage 1 of a 3-stage north of High precinct plan, of which the council was party to. And so, of course, we developed the lane. The developers at that time built the buildings. Stage 2, which had an arrangement with that same developer to build, was a multi-storey car park with about 4,000 square metres of retail underneath. And in that facility, we were anticipating dealing with the waste, cycling, public toilets and those sorts of things. It was kind of in that car parking building. That second stage didn't go ahead, as you know, because the developers split up and other things happened and but we still, as part of that arrangement, had agreed that the waste wouldn't need to have been taken care of in stage 1, which was Conway Lane. So we still had an obligation to help the owners of those buildings find a way to manage their waste, given that stage 2 never proceeded. Hence, it is slightly different to the situation we find ourselves in now, because we have every other business in the town centre who was not under that arrangement, who was up to their own waste, as Chief Executive said, through their consent resources.
and is there a cost to their licence to occupy?
When we set that originally, we just rolled look at it and consider it. The original they were about $1, was really nominal. And like what someone was saying, the arrangement they had risk to just get nominal under the current arrangement. It was always supposed to be scenario.
Just one more on that. We have there is a planned redevelopment of the Blake Street car park, and we have acquired other land in that space, and there is a consideration of how we might deal with that issue through that redevelopment process as well, so as to try and minimise its impact going forward.
So, understanding that it's a 12-month rollover all the time, so will it be coming back to council with the situation on the costs involved? Because car parking is very important for Waimakariri, and if that's also taking car parking away, and technically it's responsibility of the owners of the property, and I would imagine being only a 12-month rollover, they would be quite knowledgeable on that situation themselves, or they should be.
I think it sits up on the grass verge, so it's actually not like when we designed it originally, it was here just for that. We can certainly bring that agreement back to council if that's the desire. We've intended to deal with that operationally through property, not just a rolling basis, but if it was something that council wanted to consider, or to look at a rent, we could.
Other questions? Councillor Billings?
Thank you. What are the tenants doing right now?
I actually walked up and looked at the houses as one of the tenants at the moment. I think they're just carrying up. Some of the actual tenancies on the site do have all their rubbish in there. Certainly, animals do when I walked in and look around the building. I believe the cafe is still using the little laneway cutout, which we talked about in the report. They're taking rubbish away, excess rubbish away on a daily basis. That's how they're managing it currently.
In the past, when we've talked about the value of a car park, if I'm not wrong, wasn't it something along the lines of about $30,000 per annum, or what would you estimate the worth of?
I think I had 3 times and the rent was around $5,000 a year in the report. Actually, build it at grade, it's around $5,500. Simon and I did 5 years ago. That's probably obviously that cost that was 6 years ago. Around 500 to 1,000 rent per year, but to avoid that cut around 5,000.
So it was 500 per annum, you say?
Yeah, 500,000 we were going to take rent.
That was looking at some existing valuations that our property team held, some assumed yearly rental rates included. That was then extrapolated out to a yearly base. So it could be more, but it's not a lot in the Grand Euro context.
Just some further context, would council be aware that we've actually spent a considerable amount of money purchasing land in the Blake Street area to provide us with the opportunity to expand the number of car parks in there, given that is probably the highest occupancy car park in the town centre, and the one that probably generates the most number of service requests for us. So, and that is out of the parking management plan, it's a project that's coming forward to council in the very near future.
So how long have, and sort of whoever it is, how long have they been raising this issue with us?
We just last year, yes, almost. We like the solid wasting. We haven't actually had them in our.
While the building was still under construction, the developer was engaging staff during that time, so it was not an issue.
And curiosity, as we do have a waste minimization officer, have we, or could we, to loan her out to them to perhaps find some ways to minimize their waste?
Absolutely, though, and I think that's one of the avenues we can pursue if the committee was supportive of option one. Kitty's here. Kitty and Mona also came along.
Yes, both Marie and the solid waste officer and the waste minimisation officer have been able to talk to the tenants, and we can certainly increase the officer, the waste minimisation officers. It's to help them with that. That is an option.
And we don't have any arrangements like the one with Conway Lane, which was, I understand, as you just said, a temporary option until such time as stage 2, which has never occurred, was to take place. What are your plans for the renewal of that whenever it gets to the 12 months? That hinge on this discussion?
No, I don't think it hinges on this discussion, but I think what we were looking to do is continue that arrangement with the store owners until such time as we went through the redesign of the Blake Street car park, which includes the areas that we've purchased, and to see whether there was an ability for us to create a newer set of options around a more permanent solution for that situation, noting that the development of the car parking building now on that site sits in our infrastructure plan, but not in our 10-year window of LTP. So we're looking to produce a more permanent, semi-permanent option for that as part of that redevelopment of that site.
Is that only for the Conway Lane, or is that a more holistic plan for the entire area back there?
I think it's only for the obligation we have with Conway Lane. The risk of the precedent setting again by offering that out to numerous other businesses and property owners would probably create quite a considerable problem for us. And in recent, as discussed in recent times, we've turned down quite a number of businesses for things like car parks that they want to lease from us and the like, just because we've spent such a lot of energy and time and council money accumulating enough land to create supply for the town centre. That would be probably a perverse outcome for us then to lease those out for private use. So we want to try and
such a nominal fee.
try and confine the issue to what we have.
Excuse me, Councillor Leland, a question?
Yes, Madam Chair. I just wondered what discussions have you had with the developer landlord over his failure to deliver on what he proposed Has he had an explanation or what's he proposing?
So as outlined in the report, there have been many discussions over a good 2 years, right across the various seniority levels within council, right up to Jeff himself. I guess there's been a real perseverance on his behalf to continue to seek a council solution to the problem. We've been clear all the way through of what the obligations are. It has been considered through the building consent process. We've had written confirmation that it is being taken care of as part of the design of those developments. But there has been continued effort to seek a council solution. In saying that, our property team did have a conversation with him the other day to say that the issue is coming to committee for a resolution. He's really happy to hear that it's getting the airtime to be considered further.
Right, okay. You also mentioned Posted Plus and the skip. That wouldn't be part of our issue, would it?
Well,
Providing a location for a skip.
This is part of the solution being sought for a waste storage for all of the 10 tenants. The reason we did raise the issue so early when we learned he was signing on Posty Plus is that we were well aware of the historic issues of them previously having 3 skips, I believe, down the service lane behind New World, which was causing consistent safety and pedestrian issues there, to the point where we finally needed to actually remove them through our environmental services unit. So we had met with them on site before they moved in a long time ago and discussed with our solid waste team as well ways that they could think differently around their waste generation and how they could seek that. But certainly the outcome that is being sought is a council provided solution for all the waste, including the significance of Posty Plus.
Thank you.
Councillor Williams and then back down.
Just another question. You mentioned building consent. Has this building got compliance with its consent being passed by council, code of compliance, etc.? Because to me, the way this report is read, it doesn't comply with its resource consent. So has council given it code of compliance?
Under the resource consent for the district, they're not required, there's no requirement to provide a rubbish storage solution. Under the building consent as well, there is a requirement of adequate storage within their building. But our staff don't do that in detail when they actually process the consent. So the building is there, so my understanding is it has got its consent that they were providing storage within as their tenants provided in response to that building consent query.
So what's the process when the council finds out they're not compliant with their resource consent? And with, you know, what checks and balances? Don't we have checks and balances when we issue consents for properties?
Well, with the building itself, there's adequate storage space in the footprint of the building. So our staff would have looked at that building consent application and determined that there is space to carry the rubbish needs of property within that building. So it is complying in our minds as staff. That's the building consent reasons.
Just to confirm, we're satisfied that the building consent conditions has a consent and it has meeting its conditions. There is sufficient. We believe there is sufficient room for maintenance of rubbish within the site. It's just the site is not being used for that purpose.
And just to add to that, again, when staff brought the attention to the developer during those early conversations around Posty Plus's waste needs, he reassured us that there's a very large internal storage area available to store rubbish. So the assumption here is it's being used in another way instead.
Thank you, Nadine.
I contest the meeting with the recommendation. A UC requests a workshop to look at the broader issues of waste in the Blake Street car park. But the rest I'm comfortable.
Just for clarification, is that a new C and then the C becomes D?
That's correct. Yeah, the rest all follows. It just goes.
Okay, so the current C remains, but it becomes D.
Yes, that's correct. That's right.
So, okay, did you get that?
Well,
I need a seconder, Madam Chair.
I've got that request for a workshop and I'll take the wording off the recording.
Right, that's fine. Who seconded? So amendment, so we have a seconder for that. So,
I'd like to speak this way.
fine.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can I just firstly acknowledge the huge amount of effort that's gone into this issue, both by our council staff and, as has been mentioned, at all levels, including through elected members. I know I've been lobbied on many occasions, especially when I go to get my coffee, and contacted by the developer. And while I have sympathy for the tenants, and I do, I think that I think that this matter has been adequately or considerably addressed and discussed at all levels of the council. My reason for asking for suggesting it lay on the table in the interim was actually to have that broader discussion. But I just was reflecting on that through the questions and other matters, and it was clear to me that I don't think there was going to be anything that would necessarily change from that. By putting in a C, it actually is drawing that out into a broader issue for the council to have a discussion around that. The landlord of the new building would have been party to that original arrangement because he was an owner at that time, where that location was. It is now for the current, or for others within the Conway precinct or wherever that compound what it services. I know that that's well extinguished and there's different ownership structure there now, so is aware of that. I've also been party to a number of negotiations with other parties in the car park getting things resolved, and I know how valued those car parks are. Desperately do need to get on and get the Blake Street car park redesigned, redeveloped, and whether a waste arrangement continues there in the future will be a matter for this council. But I wouldn't want staff to think that by asking for it to run the table at all undermining the work that they've done, because it wasn't what it was about. It's actually about trying to achieve the right outcome there, and so that we've got adequate answers on this, because actually this won't be the first or the last time this comes up. We've got other matters in other parts of the district where these requests do come up, and that's what happens when you're in a growing district like we are, and when people are maximising the footprint of what they're developing. I think the building over there is stunning. They've made a really good job of it. The partnership that we've put in place with Hannibal Lane looks amazing. As does the back, and I continually get great comments back about that. Last thing I wanted to see is a proliferation of bins all down there through tenants as well. But I think through careful management and working with them, there's a way forward. And it is ultimately the landlord's responsibility. It's not the council's responsibility to fulfil that. And that's why we all need to be very careful about what our future decisions are around the current arrangement in the back of the car park. And I think you're right, Simon, as you were talking about before, in the redesign, that's where that's adequately addressed. So I know there's a lot of work gone into the preparation of this report. Thanks, Heike, Vanessa, and all who have contributed, but I'm supportive of the direction that you've indicated.
Councillor Evan, would you like to speak?
Yes, Madam Chair, just briefly. This is a very good and comprehensive report. It's quite clear what the options were. It really is a landlord issue and not one that we need to get embroiled in at this point. I can understand the need for a workshop to look at the wider issues, not focused on this particular issue. So I was a little lukewarm about the suggestion to lie on the table, but I think the solution that we've come up with and the Mayor's amendment, I'm more than happy to support it.
Any other comments? I just want to say, I know that it's been a huge for you, the team, so hopefully we can find a resolution soon that everybody's happy with, and you can move on with other things. So I'll put that to the vote. Though all those in favour of this amended motion, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you very much, and thank you for your work. We go on to 5.2, Infrastructure Resilience Fund proposed projects. Kelly Simpson and Melanie, welcome.
Thanks, Chair, Mayor and Councillors. We take the report and we would like to report this report. The purpose of this report is the projects under the Infrastructure Resilience Fund for financial year 2025-26, and we would like to provide a bit more information on what for the infrastructure resilience team following the May event. For 2025-26 financial year, staff allocated 1.5 million to the infrastructure resilience fund, and it has been distributed among 3 existing projects and 8 new projects for the new financial year. During and following the May event, we received 181 service requests. After the triage process, we have identified 49 investigations and sorry, that's I made a mistake. It should be 80 maintenance tasks from 90 service requests. We expect that after the 49 investigations, there will be additional projects added on the list. So as we finish the 49 investigations, we will reprioritize the 8 new projects and the new identified projects. Then we will update our project list and report to the event. Thanks. Any questions?
Any questions? Councillor Fulton.
Madam Chair, I'm interested in the process of doing the flood recovery works through list. Have you identified areas of basically repeated trouble spots where in the event of certain amount of volume of rain or frequency that you really have to have a dedicated sort of fix rather than just maintaining what you're there to? And how do you flag that?
Yeah, I don't have a breakdown of the exact ones but it's fair to say some of them are flooding issues in areas that we haven't had flooding before, as well as ones that are repeat offenders, if that's the correct term. There have been some where we've had an issue and we've undertaken some maintenance work, so we've found some silt build up or debris accumulation that we've gone and addressed, but we've still had flooding. So that's actually, it was treated as a maintenance check last time. We're now treating it as an investigation because we actually want to go and check the capacity of the infrastructure to make sure we're meeting our level of service at that location. So it's probably, without talking about specific information or examples, it's probably fair to say we've got a combination of both. New sites where we haven't had no one flooding before, as well as existing ones where we've had issues in the past. And
just with that, Madam Chair, please, in the course of this work, as you probably do across council, is there an opportunity to modernise and upgrade, say, if you have a replacement culvert or something, there was a pinch point. Is this how it works, that you put in a box culvert if there was the money and the need? And
So yeah, that's effectively what's part of the investigation that Melanie's team is working on. And they will be looking at making recommendations from maintenance works that should be undertaken, as well as immediate works, if we can actually, there's an obvious solution that we can get on with, as well as future improvement works that are actually going to take a little bit more time to work through and put money in the budget or utilise the infrastructure resilience fund to address in the future. Yeah.
Just building on what Kelly was saying, in lay terms, in my experience, and we had a quick chat about this, management team in Jura has since anyone can build on it, but the rain never falls in the same area. It always falls in different velocities. But what we did experience from this one, as well as getting the old and new issues, is that it did test some of the areas that done upgrades, and those have apparently come through pretty well. Only might want to expand on that.
Yeah, well, I know there's a lot of councillors waiting with questions, but I think we can give a bit more context here. So I'll just give a couple of examples of, and first of all, I completely agree with the Chief Executive. Every single storm event is quite different. It just depends on the direction of the rain, orographic effects that are occurring, how saturated catchment is, where it happens to fall heavily, what the duration is. There certainly are some repeat ones, and just as an example, this most recent event, Dragons Road, the issue there, that reoccurred, but we did get some really good information on that. We had very fortunate to have an expert resident / councillor took some photos that were very helpful, and we've actually got a project that's being constructed right now that will potentially take some of the water out of the top end of that saturation. And, this event gave us a really good insight into that. The other area that we had a repeat issue was the Ashley River itself. So we were gearing up for potentially a repeat of the situation that occurred at the Ashley River in a couple of years ago, and that was one of the reasons the Environment Academy took the preemptive action to open up the river mouth. Also at Waikuku Beach, we learned from a previous event to deploy some big pumps at Macintosh Drain and also other drain just upstream, because we realised how crucial that is to keep on top of that from a previous event to make sure the access road is open. And if we had a situation where we evacuated, we needed to have confidence that we had an access route available. That does also tie in with future funding in the LTP for a piece of infrastructure to help keep those in there. Just one further thing, the area in Kaiapoi that we have put in the big pump stations, they've been very effective. It was a really good test of those in Otaki Street catchment, that whole Otaki Room Street area, that performed really well. So that was really encouraging. And I know we did spend a lot of money on pumps and we did spend a lot of money on cyber trucks, but we believe we can take the sewer within the network throughout the district for that event. And then we did have an overflow treated effluent at the Rangiora Wastewater Treatment Plant. But even 5 years ago, we had that event, I'd be certain that multiple overflows from the sewer network. So there's been some huge gains on work we've done in areas that have now been hit. And as you'll be aware, we've got $20 million funded for sewer upgrades in the coming decade for Kaiapoi. I'll get on top of that. So it's really reassuring. We're getting hit by these events more frequently. They do all behave differently, but we're every single event we're seeing improvements, and both in the way we can respond to it and also the upgrades that we can carry out.
Councillor Mealings?
Thank you, Jared. I totally agree. We always seem to have our frequent flyers, and every rain event is different. And as a resident of the same place for 26 years, I have photographs going back to where I don't have digital. So I'm pleased that photos were helpful in figuring out a solution and how the behavior of water under certain circumstances varies. I'm really pleased to see what's already been underway and the solutions in some of the places that you've already done have worked very well, particularly Wilson's Drive. Well done, thank you. Happy residents. But my question, we'll get to the question. As you can see, I am passionate about this issue of living in a hoka swamp. So, former swamp, trying to keep it from everything. So, in where you say you've got works planned for Mill Road to Hoka, are we talking in upgrading the culverts under White's Road? Is that a major, so we're talking about the right underneath the road, or are we talking about the works to upgrade culverts right now on White's Road that is underway as we speak? The drain.
I think at the moment we are still in the process of confirming and scope of work was never, but very convert for one over next to 4-1 and there is another little church next to the domain. Also we plan to clean the drain along the domain and up into
So the under White's Road, where they're talking about is where it breaks out next to and goes across the road. Okay, so at the moment, I know that you're upgrading culverts and driveways on Mill Road, and you've also mentioned in here that to remove restrictive vegetation. And I was wondering where that restrictive vegetation was and how far it went, because I wanted to know if 547 Mill Road, that resident has raised that in the past. That this is quite a bit further to the west. That has raised that there's a bit of a problem there, but he's not able to do it himself. And yeah, I was just wondering how far your vegetation removal was going to go up the road there. And
we haven't cut for how far we will go yet, but we can certainly look at this to see better.
It's more up towards the other church. And also, is the work the north end of Bradley's Road likely to be included in this list after the last, or is that under ECAN's jurisdiction? So where Bradley's feeds into the main drain. That's so at the end of the north end of Bradley's Road, you know what I mean?
Where the culvert is being upgraded at the moment. Bradley's and Main Drain Road.
Yes, is it? Not noticed. There's still not the end of it's very close to me. Okay, cool. So that's a yes then. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
I have been busy.
Thank you for this. It's been noticed that we're getting more of these rain events more frequently, and this time, a month ago, where we came out pretty good, but we didn't have the undercurrents flowing. So, considering what that basically rain event cost the council a month ago, have we actually got enough budget for any future ones, considering they're going to be more frequent?
I think it's fair to say that given the rainfall that we've had over since the beginning of May, all of our catchments are now saturated in the district. So we're coming into part of winter with saturated catchments and undercurrents from like you expect, like you just mentioned. So it's fair to say if we had the same amount of rainfall that we had at the beginning of May occurring now, that would have a bigger impact on our infrastructure and properties across the district. In terms of whether we actually have budget available to respond to that, there's probably two parts to that. One is our immediate response, and the second part is the recovery. So there's a report coming to July that's summarising the money that was spent on the immediate response. For both the Three Waters and Roading perspective, you've already been given a heads up in the June report that was in the order of approaching about $1 million, and probably about 60% of, I haven't quite got my figures right, but I think about or maybe about half of that came from existing budgets that we managed to fit it within as part of our normal operational expenditure. And that's also going to cover the NZTA contribution towards the emergency works as well. If we did get another event, that's actually going to mean that a lot of our budgets, even though we're very close to the end of the financial year, will be exceeded as well. In July, we move into a new financial year, so there'll be some budgets coming online with a little bit of capacity in them for future events, but if we have multiple events next financial year, we'll probably be in a similar position. And it's something that we're always mindful of in terms of setting budgets, making sure that we've actually got enough in there to cover what we would normally expect in a typical year. And like we do for our rural drainage accounts, we actually look at building up an emergency fund. That means when we have those really bad years, we can actually lean on the funds that we've put aside there. So it's something that we are continually reviewing to make sure we've got our budget set to cater both for the immediate response. I think the best thing with having Melanie's team, the Infrastructure Resilience team, as well as the Infrastructure Resilience Fund, that has given us money for the recovery. So this report is showing what we're intending on spending that fund on the 25-26 year, and it's also signalling in table 1, it's signalling what we're going to be spending it in 26-27 year, and you'll note that there's a portion of that that's unallocated at the moment. And then in outer years, we've still got funding there for recovery works as both for works, future events that show we've got problems in certain areas, as well as for building resilience and readiness in our infrastructure for future events before they occur.
So I'll just give a little bit more context here. I think so at a individual budget level, we've got adequate provision to manage the financial years, and you'll be well aware, councillors, that the drainage advisory groups have been encouraging us to build up the annual maintenance budgets, which we've been doing over time. And you'll also recall when you set your budgets as part of the LTG and the annual plan and also our infrastructure resilience strategy, this council has a very prudent level of debt compared to other councils, so it leaves a huge amount of headroom available for quite significant shocks. And we modelled that, as you'll recall, on an AF8 earthquake event, which any of these kinds of floods, the cost of that is substantially more. So fortunately, because of your good financial management as a council, you're in a position so that if we do get more frequent events, they can be managed and without any undue impact on rate or our tickets.
Very good. Good answer. Right. Now, have you got another question?
Same question.
Jeff, would you like to?
I could go to council, but I just wanted to say that I received an email of gratitude from Tom Briati from the Clark Rural Advisory Drainage unanimously thought that the efforts from ourselves and ECAN and others helping in the flood event was much appreciated. But that's just probably should go at this time as an acknowledgement, just to thank for acknowledging us.
That's a good idea. It was a really tremendous effort. Well done to the team. Saved an awful lot of damage. So the money was well spent and the time was well spent, well organised. I really want to say a big thank you. If you still got another question?
The same question, actually.
Well, come on, we need to keep going.
A really, really good answer, but it didn't actually give me the answer saying yes or no. We've got enough budget in there if we have some more events that have been indicated we're going to be more frequently having.
So I'll just, sorry, maybe we should hear it. We have, if we got hit before the end of this financial year, I've looked at the rain forecast and I think we're okay. We'll be coming back. We will bring you a report. The council will be receiving a report at the council meeting, which will summarise the finalised costs from the last event and may include some additional requests for budget. It is, I'll use the word modest, what's likely to be asked for, not something that would be substantial impact on rates. Going into the next financial year, well, first of all, say in the LTP and the ongoing, I talked already about this kind of money that council's got aside. So we think there's been quite adequate provision for future capital works that we expect from ongoing events and the known issues. In any one financial year, we have budgets. So for next year, for example, that we think are adequate for managing the usual maintenance with some capacity for big events. And some of those, they've got a strategy to try and build up funds to manage those. So if we get a particularly bad year, then we can draw those down. If we are to get a significant event, it is likely that we will come and ask for out-of-cycle funding from the council, as we have done for this event. And on balance, that's the approach that we have put to the council and think is the most prudent, so that we're not rating unnecessarily. And I'll just finalise my last point. Because of the strategy that the council has taken to its finance, it actually has the capacity to be able to manage those decisions without undue effect on rates. I hope that has answered it.
Thank you. We must move on. Councillor Cairns, do you have a question?
Very, very briefly, Jerry, may have covered part of it. In terms of the list that you've got here, Melanie, Kelly, are there things or are there locations that are not on the list that are higher priority, but effectively we don't have the funds to actually meet the costs? And I look at the likes of, say, Koraki Beach, sewer issues there, potentially a Hoka Road near William Street, where there's a lot of sucker trucks at the last event there. It's a higher priority, but we don't have enough funds.
I understand the question. So the list does not exclude anything that because of a prioritisation at the moment. What it does exclude is any works that are going to fall out of the 49 investigations that have just commenced coming out of the May 25 event. So the list will get longer as we work through those 49 investigations, and we expect there will need to be a prioritisation process that will come back to this committee to decide which order projects or that expenditure of the infrastructure resilience fund is occurring.
Just to specifically answer those two points of reference, so Kairaki, our intention is to go out and try and find out where the inflow and infiltration is happening. So that's not actually a capital expenditure draw on the council, where unless we discover something there, we actually think we've got concerns that there's some kind of illegal connections into that system that's causing the problem. So that's that one. Ahoka Road sewer. Now, we are having to deploy sucker trucks there, but we're actually managing to contain it. Just over the last decades, really, so starting in about 2004, we actually put in a Northern Kaipoi sewer upgrade project, which was the construction of the Beach Road pump station, the diversion of Kraken Street pump station to Beach Road, and that was all aimed at addressing the capacity of the Kaipoi sewer. And so that was one significant step change. Since then, we've had multiple projects, such as upgrading the sewer in Ahoka Road, and the $20 million government subsidised stormwater solution that we put in for Kaipoi. So they all have helped in that situation in Ahoka Road. And as I referred to before, you have got a $20 million budget over the next decade for sewer works in Kaipoi. So I really want to impress upon you, you can't just fix something like the need for sucker trucks overnight. You've already made investments over time, and you have got a program to continue with those investments. So the answer to have we got funding for addressing the Ahoka Road sewer, the answer is yes, you've got that in your answer.
Thank you. Last question, Councillor Fulton, please.
I do have concerns about the amount of contingencies we've got, but I think about parts of that. My question was just an accounting thing. Was what's unallocated actually means? Does that mean reserve funds? How do we? Because that's quite a large amount sitting in there, and the 4.2, 26, 27.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's basically reserve funding. And
So that is
being tagged to it.
Effectively, that is what some of the improvement works identified from the 49 investigations that are just commencing now. That works coming out of those investigations, that's what that unallocated budget in the 26-27 year will get assigned to. Just a further comment in terms of the contingency.
Seems quite short. Is that contingency across all those projects?
All across, so it's a program contingency across all of the projects above.
Often you're building something that you put like a 25-30% contingency on per project, and yet that's not going to be.
Yeah, so
that's for works engineering.
I'm not quite sure what the percentage is, but it's effectively rather than putting each of those budgets high and limiting what we can actually do, we've kept the contingency at a program level, and then depending on what happens, we can shuffle that to the project and then.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Right. So do we have a mover to accept this report? Accepted by Councillor Williams. Would you just speak?
Look, I think very good questions, but look, can I just say that this is an area of council that we should be very proud of our team, what they achieved. I had a drop-in session the other day, and a number of Ahoka residents came to praise us for. Councillor Fulton was present at that, and I know Councillor Mealings wished to be there, but she was at the Wasteman's conference. But particularly Wilson's Drive residents, and then down at Mill Road, very grateful for the work that council had undertaken. I know that raised with Joanne, I know it's already been looked at as perhaps some barriers or effective where some of the new road works that's been undertaken is built up. I was just a little bit concerned about that, but on the whole, very, very pleased with the works that have been done. We've been asking for that work to be undertaken for many, many years. So the fact that we've got an infrastructure resilience fund, the fact that we have a team that are out there doing this work is ticking off the projects we've identified and verified through real life experience and seeing how these areas perform under pressure to see what is the adequate response. Because as I think Jared mentioned before, or someone mentioned before, no two events are the same, and where the rain falls is different in every incident. It's really difficult to put budgets in place for nature, effectively. No estimates, no proposed works, and how we respond to each and every single of those events is really up and determined what comes about. I'm comfortable with the program we've got. So with the Forward program, there's a lot of money in those outer budgets. There's a lot of proposed debt for proposed budgets in outer years, 20 to 30 million in a particular project for stage 2 works planned or proposed for the Mandeville, Egerton localities. We had a very good meeting last week with Des Lyons, James Ensor and others, and I think we're finally getting to a point of consensus around stage 1 with maybe some modifications and some other some other parts being considered, especially down number 10 road. It may be undertaken in the short to longer term, but that was a very good discussion. And that's where we go and we hear from locals as well, because undertaking these works is really important. We do listen to the local community that have experience, that have seen it over numbers of years. And drainage advisory groups are really important in that space. And we went to listen to members of that in the Ahoka area earlier this year, and as a result put in an extra $50,000 to undertake works that they believe would make some difference. And I'm always open to hearing from our community. We have to make sure that those works are also verified by our professional engineers, make sure that they are actually going to deliver the results that we want to see. The works that are proposed are in support of. In the longer term, the ones in, where we're utilising sucker trucks, I think the right thing to do is we adequately respond for these, but we are going to need to look at more solutions. And one in Maikuku, for instance, is a glaring, obvious thing is to have a pump, not dissimilar, I think, what is in Kaiapoi. And I did go and look at that, went out and had a look at the last event round, and could see how adequately the response was performing. The pumps did their work. So it does work when it's put in, but it has to be, we have to make sure that that is verified, because otherwise we're spending a lot of money on potentially spending a lot of money on solutions that may not be in the right place. So I think Jared, you and the team particularly should be commended for the work that you're doing. I'm in full support of your strategy, and each and every single event I cannot be more proud of our team and what they're doing, so thank you.
Yeah, would you like to speak, Mr. Williams?
Yes, I think in the last event we just had, I think it was, well, no two ways about it, it was an excellent result. We ended up with a bit of water in wrong places and all that, but that's probably less than what other local councils had as well. But I sit on every advisory group in the drainage, and they've never been so more positive of what's happening in the last couple of 3 years. So that's a real positive. They're all eagerly anticipating, and they're all happy, to be quite honest, compared with previous years. So going forward is a very important step, and I think drainage is one of the most important things we need to get right in the area. So thank you.
Thank you. Did you would like to say something? Yes.
Thank you. Look, I'm a bit disappointed that I wasn't able to make it to those meetings in Ahoka and Mandeville last week, because those issues are close to my heart, and the community that I serve. To serve all of the community, but that's home. And but it speaks to the collaboration, that the collaborative approach of this council, and I'm proud of our proactive stance that we have with our resilience team and the excellent work that you're doing. And I'm glad that we can actually think forward, because Mother Nature is a mistress, and trying to second guess what she's going to do next is anybody's guess. But we are doing our best, and that is all we can do, is prepare for the worst and then sleep at night, hopefully. And these plans, our resilience team works in this report. All of that aids us in being as prepared as we possibly can be, and there's really not much more we can ask. So thank you for the report and the work that you're doing, and yes, fingers crossed that Mother Nature doesn't throw us any more exciting surprises before the end of the year. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I also want to reiterate that we are very proud of our team. The forward thinking, the preparation when an event is about to happen is second to none. And I look at other councils who aren't as proactive as our council, ably led by our mayor and our CEO and our wonderful staff. I really want to say thank you. I'll put this to the vote now.
Just
yes.
Briefly, I might reply, just say thank you, Madam Chair. Like through the last event, I should have mentioned in my comments before, but we were also praised extensively through civil defence, but especially through the Minister, who was extremely complimentary of our team. He was well briefed, kept in touch with us through that time, but was regularly said to me, and when I met with him, just how lucky and fortunate we are as a district to have staff that we do, but obviously that system that's been developed, and I want to acknowledge Jeff for that, the team system they'd heard about and thought that that was such a good idea of how you manage the event so that your staff aren't burnt out and you're utilising teams the best that you can. So I just want to put that on record. Thanks for that. But also an acknowledgement to Jeff of what you said before of that kind email that's come through from Tom McBurty acknowledging the efforts. That's something really that from that community means a lot.
Thank you. So we'll now vote on that. All those in favour of accepting this recommendation, please say aye. Aye. Thanks, Kerry. Thank you so much. We now go to portfolio updates, and our first one is Councillor Philip Edmund. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sort of following on from the flood response, that also had an impact on roading and work that's been undertaken, clearing water tables, removing debris from around bridges, pavement repairs and remetalling. An application for emergency funding has now been submitted to NZTA for consideration. The other thing I noticed when I had a portfolio meeting, the number of potholes we had in May spiked compared with what we've been getting. So there is a strong correlation between the rainfall event at the end of April, beginning of May, and the number of potholes we ended up with in May. So everything's sort of interconnected. Drainage works are underway. This is including the installation of box culverts in Mill Road, Hoka, and new culverts and upsizing culverts on Leeds Valley Road. And Don Young has been keeping the residents in Leeds Valley informed of what's happening. Pre-winter pavement repairs have been continuing, including a large repair at the intersection of Rangiora Woodend Road, Boys Road to a Hidden Road intersection. Asphalt repairs have also been carried out to address joint issues on William Street and Kaiapoi. And it's the time of year for remetalling of unsealed roads, and that's underway. Bridge maintenance and component replacement. You will have seen that Mandeville Bridge has needed to be closed due to concerns about its structural integrity. Following the discovery of timber rot and the bearers under the bridge deck, and staff are working with WSP, structural engineers to determine the repairs required, and these will be actioned as soon as possible in a time frame provided to the community. And that bridge is actually used quite a lot as a bit of a shortcut line. Routine road marking has been continuing. Capital works, curb and renewal work is nearing completion in Edward Street. The first section of curb and channel on Kippenberger Avenue at Lamb and Haywood is nearing completion, and I'm sure you would have seen that. Topsoil and line marking and planting is still to be done. Pitch and contracting have now moved down to the urban limit to complete the last section of curb and channel. The Rangiora Town Hall car park construction is continuing. EDR contracting have been installing the new curbs and are now focused on building the new pavements. Planning to lay surfacing in the next week to 10 days, probably weather dependent. The Charles Street curb and channel replacement project is progressing well. I think that's the one in Kaya Point. The curb and channel has been poured and footpath works are progressing well. Eastbelt, new curb and footpath again is progressing, albeit slowly. The curb has been poured and the footpath and shoulder reinstatements are to follow. Lees Road, again in Kaya Point, the gritted path has been constructed and is now complete. And that's at the north end of the Lakes subdivision, if you're not sure where Lees Road is. It's not the other Lees Valley Road. Other works, Raven Key upgrade and stormwater, water and sewer pipelines is now complete, and the road has been sealed. Road marking is reinstated. I've had a query from Councillor Atkinson this morning, but I haven't had a chance to read about that, so I may have a chat with Road once I read people's message. Kiwi Rail will be upgrading the Whale Street level crossing between the 15th and 18th of June, so that's now. Whale Street will be closed on the side of the rail crossing. Pedestrian access will be maintained. Bush Road, Oxford will be closed between Mill Road and Bay Road for water main installation works. Remedial works to a sewer trench are being carried out on Johns Road this week, with the road closed to westbound traffic. The work's expected to take 2 days. A northbound closure of Ivory Street is planned for the 24th of June. Traffic heading through Rangiora will be detoured via Victoria Street and Buckham Street. The 25th of June is a contingency date. Road safety. There is a road safety coordinating committee meeting tomorrow. Some works events have been happening. There is a kickstart motorcycle event planned for the 14th of September. This is to be held at the Air Force Museum and is a combined event run by both Selwyn and Christchurch City and ourselves. And this one might be for you, Madam Chair. A Girls Can Do Car Maintenance Program event is being held on the 1st of July. Council has teamed up with the Rangiora Motor Group to provide this free event where women can learn more about car maintenance. This is the first session of this type to be run. There's 40 places available, with 20 booked in the first 3 days of advertising. So you all have to be quick to get in and book a place. The winter driving campaign has been underway with ice scrapers and windscreen cloths being distributed to the service centres. And I understand there has been some gritting of the road around Oxford Way. I haven't been there myself, but I did hear a report. So the contractors are out where these frosty, slippery, normal roads require some assistance. The new road cone reporting tool It's just been launched. It's an online reporting tool. The tool is being managed by WorkSafe, with any reports logged being sent to the Road Controlling Authority, of which we are one, for investigation. So that's it for me.
I suggest that car maintenance, when I think about my granddaughter, might be a really wonderful thing to encourage the young ones to learn how to look at their cars and check the oil and their tyre pressures and things like that. So maybe we should be encouraging the youth to take.
That's quite a good point.
Yeah.
Nikki?
Yeah, in addition to that, thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of questions. So the Wales Street rail crossing upgrade, what are they upgrading it to? Is it a barrier arm or like what are they doing to it? Do we know?
I'm not aware of that, but Joanne may.
Joanne? Sorry, Joanne. You can extricate yourself from a comfy spot back there.
I believe it's just the actual rails through the crossings and pieces. I'm not aware that it's barrier arms, but I will follow up and just double check.
Thank you. And while you're there, one other question, which was probably not so much to the portfolio holder as it was to the management and the roading. The, I guess, tidy up of Mill Road after the works that have been done. Do we know, are we actually intending to try to remediate and do the line marking in that in winter, or is that going to be more spring? Is that still on the cards? Because I know that there's talk that obviously after widening the road a wee bit to put lines on the side of the road which haven't been painted yet. And then there was going to be some topsoil replaced in the past, which quite the season for it now, work's happening, but do you have any TA on that?
I will need to confirm that. The plan is definitely to get some topsoil in there and then get a grass strike, but obviously this time of year it's near on impossible. So we will look at time and potentially a little bit later. Yes, we also do have some additional line marking, so I'll follow up on that after it's done.
Thank you. Is line marking something that has to be done in warmer times as well, or is that something that can be done in winter?
It's probably better if it's done in warmer times. It will dry faster. There's less risk of it tracking down the road if someone drives on it. It just takes additional time to dry, and there's probably the risk of it getting rained on or washed off. So definitely not ideal to bring it in winter, but it can still be done.
That makes sense. And just one last question. So I raised this with Jared before, and I wondered if it was really just me, but I had another good look and I took a photo of it. The beautiful work that has been done on Plaskett Road, I have to say, I haven't seen it look so good in, well, over a decade at least. It's a joy to drive on, thank you. But the center line on the road, can we, if we don't already have it planned, can it be repainted? Because when the sun is high, the glare off the road, you cannot see the middle, you can't see the line at all. And I think it poses a danger, given that it's a fairly narrowish road. And there is a line in there somewhere, but is it something that might be considered, or is it actually yet to be done after the resurfacing?
I'm not sure that it has been done after the resurfacing or not, but normally what we do with road marking is it requires a good 2 layers of paint before it starts to build any depth and actually lasts a little bit better. So we do require a second coat. So I'll follow up and see if that's happened.
That would be great, because yeah, at first I thought maybe it was just me, but no, it's at different times of the day, and every time I look at it, it's difficult to see, and I drive that road frequently, so just thought I'd ask. Thank you.
Councillor Cairns.
Madam Chair, if I just acknowledge contractors that did the work in Charles Street. They did the paving on Saturday morning, and the Kalapui Saturday Market requested that they start at their end first, and the contractors were extremely accommodating. They cleaned up the area, they removed the cones, they did a wonderful job, and I just want to acknowledge and pass on the thanks from the Kalapui Saturday Market, because they were extremely grateful, and also grateful for the extension of the footpath to Coast Guard. Lots of people in there using it, thank you.
Thank you, councillor.
Right, thank you. Joanne might noted that comment.
Please.
Councillor Fulton, did you have a question?
It's just like a question to the management, really, through you, the portfolio holder. It was really just about our roadside views. I noticed that, for instance, when we have crushed road cones or discarded road cones and rubbish or broken, bits of reflectors, this is down in my area, often they don't get picked up, they just get left, which is surprising considering actually sometimes I see our contracted staff go right past them all the time doing grading and works, which I think there's sometimes a little bit of attention to,
Good point.
I've got one near me, and I go past it all the time, and I almost on principle I haven't yet picked it up, but I think I'm going to today. So yeah, just it's an easy thing to do, and people do notice, and that's a little attention to detail. I don't think there's much harm in
That's a good point, councillor Fulton. Dan, you wanted to say something?
Well, just a couple of questions. Firstly, Joanne, Raven Key, I just believe that I should put it through a service request, but I was asked it by business owners. Is that going to be swept soon? A lot of loose chip there from the reseal, and so it's been there for some time. Well, it's been there for a good few weeks now, and it's starting to impact on obviously traffic through the businesses there. So if that isn't programmed, well, I'm sure it is, but if you can follow that up. The other is, I wonder if you would, perhaps just for the benefit of colleagues here, we had a audio discussion recently where we've had reseals on roads where it hasn't adhered very well, what the program is for addressing, the plan is for addressing that. And thirdly, I wonder if it might be appropriate to bring a report back here, and also the Oxford board around the Waimakariri Bridge trial works, and what's the plan for future works on that. And obviously the Meaningful Bridge, we all await knowing what's going on there. I think you've made the right decision to make sure that people are safe. So it's one that is well used, so good to know what that is in due course.
Thank you. I just want to say a big thank you to Councillor Redmond, very full report, and once again, very, very busy in the grading department, and thanks to all the staff for all the great work they do, obviously at this time of year, under trying circumstances with the weather changes. So,
And as you said, secondary information, I was sort of alluding to that before it came to it.
Oh, sorry.
It was just on the, I raised it a couple of times at community board, and I think a question a few days ago, the Bennetts Corner, issues and options for Bennetts Corner. And there's some landowner issues there that probably works in progress. We know that the state of it, muddiness, the use of the road verge, the fact that one of the principal landowners in that area is probably going to move on and leave us with a delightful piece of land. What I mean is, if you don't know that, Oxford Tram Road Corner, the leased land on the left going towards Oxford, it's I don't know how deep that mud is. I don't know what the stage of that site is and how remediable it is. Even on the roadside verge, it's very muddy. I understand for some time there's been an issue, with the landowner.
The road was covered in mud last night.
Yep. Yeah, it's been an unresolved one, and I know we're planning some works in that corner. I think in our own budgets. I just think it's an opportunity maybe to come back and for you, Madam Chair, and consider what the long-term future of that, particularly if the sawmill leaves. That's what I'm being speaking about. I understand they're going to remove the whole bolus on the building on that side. But obviously going to vacate the leased land the other side, which is just a muddy bog. What do we do? It's a major area.
Was that thing maybe that look into, so thank you for
Something
that.
we can just want to raise it in this form.
Thank you, Councillor Fulton. I think staff are aware of the
Yeah.
issues with that location. I was just going to mention in relation to your query about your favourite road code, send in a service request or stem solve.
Yeah.
If you find any issues.
Thank you. Now we have drainage, stormwater, Councillor Williams.
Just to finish on that voting report, I think it's quite important for the female side to actually know what tyre pressures are. In the recent while, my boy does tyres and mechanical repairs. He said 2 females bring their cars into him saying they're not handling very good, they're all over the road, and he checked the tyre pressures and they both of them had over 100 psi in the tyres, so very important to
for anyone to check their tyre.
see what all that was the female side that actually bought the cars and
It's not gender specific.
but it is, it's an important thing for tyre.
That's very good, but now could we have your report? Thank you.
Right, water. Overall, the UV upgrades are progressing well. The Rangiora UV plant and South Belt UV plant have both been successfully commissioned and they are operational. The Hoka water treatment plant upgrade works is underway and expected to be completed in September 2025. Garrimere drilling works are underway at the moment. The Ayers Street water treatment plant to East Belt water main project, which is a larger 300 mil PE booster main, is currently out for tender and is expected to be awarded in July 2025. Wastewater, the long-awaited septic disposal facility has been successfully commissioned. The facility is currently being trialled by a local contractor and is expected to be operational and ready to receive septic from the public in July 2025. A meeting for the Mandeville Resurgent Channel was held last week at Des Lyons property in the corner of Tram Road and number 10 Road. Discussions highlighted the need for investigate the channel capacity upstream of number 10 Road as well as consider a diversion along the number 10 Road for the Ear River diversion. It was noted that stage 1 works where key pinch points exist need to occur before any upstream channel improvements. The final round of the drainage advisory groups for the year is underway, just about done, and there is an all drainage group meeting to be held on the 16th of July 2025 to acknowledge the efforts of the group members over the last 3 years. So there's going to be an all groups meeting on the 16th of July, and that's it for me.
Thank you. Any questions? Me down?
The all drainage meeting, could we possibly need to think of the timing of that, because that's the same night as the time of the Local Government New Zealand conference, and a number of us would like to be there. So can that date please be considered? And it's not sitting in my diary, so I'd welcome these that drainage meeting because I normally do go to that. That week is the LGNZ conference, so and if it could be looked at, making sure that we're all invited, that would be appreciated.
Thank you for that.
That has gone to all the drainage groups, so it'd be very difficult possibly to change.
Well, I think we need to
We all need
seriously.
to be here.
I think we really very seriously need to look at it. Who will do that?
Sure.
Yeah, I'll take care of it.
Thank you. Councillor Fulton.
Just a quick thanks for the work that I preserved for the UV treatment plant. You may be aware that the staff that a large branch evidently fell down and near the gate entrance and broke a section of the fence, which has been repaired, but it's a fairly makeshift kind of repair with the wooden timber that's just hanging in there. So it's okay for now, but obviously that's an issue to deal with. And if we could just I've talked to Mark Brown about driven this project, and we at least would like perhaps some consideration just to find a wrap up of fencing, the plant replacement and any other works just in the old reserve. It's been a really good job, but it's just a little bit of a tidy up required at the end of it before we exit. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Right, thanks all there. Councillor Bryan, solid waste.
As most of you know, I raised a concern that I had during the DAP, which was explained by Kitty and Jared, where money was being put off, taken out. I met Solid and Hazardous Waste meeting last week, and I met Ruben, I'm sorry I've forgotten his last name, who's working with Don Young. He's going to be putting together a more efficient plan for the Rangiora transfer station, and he was quite impressive when he described his very initial thoughts with regard to that. Mayor Dan raised some issues with regard to waiting times, and I've also suffered the issue over waiting times. There's no easy solution on the current setup, because even if you get through the kiosk, you've still got to be able to back your trailer or find a spot to back your trailer on. So it's a popular transfer station, and as Monish pointed out, we're rapidly growing district. Again, Mayor Dan raised the issue of purchasing some of the Jarden land, and I believe that conversation between he and Don were going to take place over this. Probably the most pressing, but it's not the most important, is the Cust recycling facility, and the team are looking at options on where to relocate and what the costs will be. Obviously, pads will be made. Potentially, Oxford's a good option, but having said that, I don't think the Cust community are going to be very happy with Oxford. So it's an interesting one, and it's one no doubt will come to this committee in the near future. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for your report. Transport, Mayor Dan. Thank you.
Something really major, probably not all aware of, apart from obviously the business case, the final stages of preparation for the Eastern Link, and it's tracking really well. Just to acknowledge the effort that's going in with that, and obviously the bypass as well. Process is underway with that. We were briefed last week on where they're at with that project and the challenges that exist within that, but also and obviously the question of tolling yet to be resolved, but it's a matter sitting there, and did indicate last week that I'd like to possibly have a workshop with colleagues or a discussion with colleagues to see if there's a combined opinion on that, and if there is, whether it's worth us articulating that to NZTA and the Minister in due course. But apart from that, I've got nothing else to bring in.
Any questions of Mayor?
I don't know if you, Madam Chair, Mr. Mayor, there was some discussion about the Manawatu Gorge Highway that was opened in a massively big, large piece, no toll, everything. I mean, I think a lot of people are questioning sort of that, you know, yes, it is a national route, but it's also in that argument that those people in that wider area will be using it frequency. So was there any way that we can sort of convey or sort of and collectively, you know, how that rationale stacks up?
That's why I said I'd welcome a chat with you all soon, and I'll find a way of doing that. So even this afternoon, we've got a chance in our briefing, although it's discipline related, we'll find a time, but it's to ensure we have a combined opinion on it, because I've heard both sides on the discussion. So I am aware of the minimum too. It was reminded, someone came up to me somewhere the other day to tell me about that. I think that was resolved quite some time ago. That wouldn't be told. The project's it's only just opened, as I understand. So
$4.38 a trip. They said, but we can't do that twice a day.
So, and there's all that discussion that we'll need to see how we influence that over the coming period. They said that they hadn't made the decision at that table last week, so we'll see.
Yes. Thank you. Right, I think we need to move on now to 7.1, reports referred to by the Radio Ashley Community Board on Charles Up and Drive safety improvements. Joanne. Thank you. That's the next two reports that are here for us to consider.
Thank you. So this report is in relation to proposed safety improvements on Charles Upham Drive. At a meeting last week, the Community Board approved the installation of a stop sign at the village, and also put a recommendation through to UNR to approve the removal of one car parking space immediately to the north of the entrance on the eastern side of the road at the village. Staff, the mayor, the Ashley Community Board chair, and also roading portfolio have met with the residents committee representatives at the village regarding a number of safety issues, and this report is a accumulation and suggested changes from that. Management of Charles Upham Bridge are also supportive of the removal of the one car. Take questions.
Questions? And I'll second that. Thank you. Ellen?
Firstly, start with saying that thank you to Joanne, and we're coming to a number of meetings on various matters. It's fair to say that roading and related matters are of high priority to residents in the village, as is their safety. When the village was built, it was never intended, it wasn't intended that there'd be an extension that was built across the road, so that land wasn't part of the original proposal. So if anyone's been to the village, it does separate them out, where you've got apartments on the left and then the main village complex. So as that's developed, those matters where there's the crossing issues and other things have been matters that have been of concern to residents, and that's appropriate for us to consider what that would be, including any expectations about speed limits, Oxford Road intersection, a whole range of things, increasing car parking capacity, a lot of the things that we just aren't able to deal with for them, and I guess manage the expectation about what we can achieve. The package that has been put together is I think a fair compromise there, recognising the challenges that are there when you've got existing car parking arrangements in place, as well as speed related issues. So judder bars and other things have been suggested, and I remember saying you won't want those in once they go in. Knowing issues that we've had in other areas, the only area where I've actually had positive feedback about is in Buckley's Road. That would be the exception. Normally when they go in, they wanted to go out. So I think what's planned here recently is a really good option that was supported by the community board last Wednesday. Just encourage colleagues to support this and acknowledge our roading team, especially our roading manager, for the work that you've put in, Joanne, to things about. The other is I attended a residents meeting last week. I'm very happy with what's proposed, and it's been adequately communicated to all residents.
Thank you. Right. We still move, all those in favour of,
Joe,
oh no, we need to move them.
that's how I moved it.
Oh, sorry,
You seconded it.
I was a little
It's all right.
distracted. That's Redmond.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I thought you may wish to speak as the seconder of that motion, so I don't want to preempt that. This is a good report. It is a solution. As the Mayor has indicated, we had a very constructive meeting with the residents and they were very reasonable. I think very grateful that we listened and will try and do something to address their issues. Speed is one of their concerns, lack of parking and how to get from one part of the village across the road safely another, and also exiting the village. So whilst I'm always loath to remove a car park, it does actually provide a safety benefit by giving better vision for people exiting the village. And bear in mind, I guess, that the residents of the village perhaps mature residents and have different reaction times to younger drivers. So I think this is a very good report, and from the sound of it, feedback from the residents is very positive, so I think we've done well. Thank you.
Yeah, in addition to what you just said, Councillor Redmond, I support this because it makes sense. It'll have a better safety outcome, and you've done a really good job in sitting down with representatives from Residents Committee and the manager of the retirement village and staff and all that, and weighing everything out, and on balance, the loss of one car park versus safety outcomes. I think you've come to the right conclusion, so well done.
As well, and yeah, for all the obvious reasons, so well done, Joanne. Consultation's been good, so I'll put that to the team. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Okay, it's carried. Thank you, Joanne. On to 7.2, approval of proposed adjustments to annual renewal car park. Joanne.
Thank you. So this report is seeking approval for some minor changes to the footpath and pedestrian connectivity through the Ashley Street car park. The title on the report is incorrect. It's not renewal car park. It is a separate private car park. This has arisen following a number of complaints in reports of people driving, which has resulted in injuries, and that relates to the wheel stops, which are adjacent to the footpath along the New World building, supermarket building side. These have particularly come through from New World staff. It's proposed to widen the footpath along the western side of the car park adjacent to the building, and to remove the wheel stops, and will mark an area on the footpath where the wheels will overhang, and take the wheel stops away, which will help remove that trip hazard. There was an additional recommendation added into the report at the Ashley Community Board meeting on Wednesday, and that was that we take the design to the waimakariri group. That was done on Thursday morning. Staff presented that, and there was some good discussion around design. They were happy with the design. They had one suggested change to it, which was to paint the curbs on the raised footpaths through the car park yellow to make them more conspicuous. So certainly something that we can very easily achieve and include within the design. And the other question that was asked was around the difference in the height between the wheel stops and the footpath. Councillor Williams, we've been out and checked that. the new curb will be 90 millimetres high and the existing wheel stops are 100, so the difference is 10 millimetres, which that seems being an issue. Happy to take any questions.
Councillor Fulton.
Just to ask whether once we've come to some sort of a recommendation and with advice from access, whether we can take this position to the supermarket groups, because there are some other supermarkets I know at Mandeville I've raised this as an issue before with the black wheel stops. You know, they're not terribly visible in vehicles. I imagine there's other supermarkets and
The difference between this car park and the likes of the Mandeville car park is council owned, operate and maintain. Yeah, I mean we can definitely share, use some idea sharing with private car parks.
In some cases, like in Oxford, you're walking in off a public curb as well. I imagine that's something you don't necessarily. I'm not sure what Oxford is, but in some cases,
Yeah, where they are private, unfortunately, we have less ability to influence, but can certainly help provide guidance.
Excuse me, Councillor Williams, did you have a question? Yeah, it's good to see the, I was concerned about the car rolling into the pedestrians walking there at that height, but only 10 mil difference there. Won't there still be a trip hazard? So what is going to be the difference here? I know the footpath's going to be a lot higher, but you've still got a similar type of trip hazard, is that correct?
Well, anywhere we have a curb around the district, we potentially have the risk of a trip hazard as someone you have to step from the road to the footpath. I think the difference with the wheel stops is they're black. They have the yellow markers on them. We had tried to put some yellow marking around the outside to try and make them a bit more conspicuous, but for some reason it just hasn't seemed to have addressed the issue, and we have still had reports of people tripping over them. I'm not sure if that's because that can be sticking out from under the front of the car or what's quite causing it, but and arguably it's an attention thing. People may still trip over the curb, but if there's not a trip hazard in front of the curb, which is another trip hazard, then we have reduced the likelihood of hopefully someone tripping over them.
Megan?
It was just in the proposed recommendation, I wondered whether E needs updating, because it was requesting staff to submit it to the access group, well it has now, so whether it's changed to staff have submitted the proposed plan to the waimakariri access group and have received their feedback and have taken that on board or something like that.
Just start there with the notes. So notes,
yes.
Happy with that, Kate? Yeah. Sounds good to me. Right. Would we have move through seconded for this?
I'm more than happy to move, but I'm happy to let someone else have a shot of but I'm happy to move it.
I'll second it then.
Just can I speak briefly to say that this actually was a concern that was firstly came to myself from a resident that was very concerned about it. I mean, down there with, I think it was Shane Binder from memory, as well as New World staff and the concerned resident. And when I went down there, I actually could see directly what the problem was. So I'm appreciative that staff have looked into it, because there's a car park that we own and there's a health and safety issue. And especially with the age of people that were using this particular part. So I think those improvements will make a significant change there that hopefully will avoid people having trip hazards there, and no one wants that at the end of the day. I know that, as was indicated, there were some trials of other things looked at, and in the end the recommendation is what it is here in front of us today. But I think to those matters, that will be appreciated not only by users but also by New World, and just note that it's been approved through the Recreation Community Boards.
Those two vote. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. So that's that. Questions under standing orders, are there any? No, we do general business. Now we have to look at matters to be considered with excluded. Who would like to move and second that we move out of and into public excluded, please? Seconded by Councillor Evans. Those in favour say aye. Aye. So now we're moving into public excluded. Public excluded. Al, I'll send you a copy of all the emails. No, because I'm really upset about that because I thought I did the right thing.
Stop worrying about it. No, go and read Chris's email. Thank you anyway.
Oh no, that's good.
Yes. But that wedding with Buddy went to Gold Coast. I spent $250,000.
How can they? Did they have fireworks and all that stuff?
No, they didn't. But
Well, what did they spend the money on?
there's only 40 people there, and I reckon there would be 30 staff.
Yeah.
And they're real upmarket, like they keep going around with.
Was it Silkline Marquee or where was it? Was it a Silkline Marquee or where was it?
No, purpose-built venue.
So what's happening now? We're 11:30, and then we got it this afternoon as well.
This one here's only about 10 minutes, isn't it?
Is it?
It's only past the long-term plan or whatever.
Oh, is it? And then we come back at 1, do we? Okay, I better tell David. Okay.
So this one won't take much at all.
All right. Okay.
It's like they had candles and it was $1,300 just for candles.
Well, it must have been fun. It must have been fun.
Couldn't believe it.
But did you enjoy it?
Oh yeah, it was good. It was good. They had to be out of the venue by 10 o'clock at night though, because the site vintage compound and they objected to it, so we finished by 10.
What time did it start?
4. And then we had a big bus and we went to the venue afterwards, but that wasn't part of that. There's some flash people there though. I felt pretty out of place.
Okay.
Your house all sorted now?
No, I'm still there.
What the hell was happening here?
We got the pantry installed Friday, and one of the sets of drawers didn't match up.
What colour?
No, sizing. So he's taken that away. Yeah, so the pantry's still got to be finished. Some holes in the ceiling. Well, the manhole cover's gone. I don't know where it is, and I can't climb a ladder. So he's going to have to fix that. Yeah, the house itself is fine, but I can't move stuff out of the garage until I get the pantry fucking finished. So
what about the groundwork?
oh no, shit,
Who's going to do that?
well, I was going to do it myself. So I did ring a guy, he had some soil, lives on Westbell. Had some soil at $100 a load. So I rang him, but he's not excavating for another 5 weeks. So I just get a digger and hire a truck. If the soil's good, I don't want stony shit. So,
Need to find some developers around here. They normally take a big scoop and they sell all the good topsoil. All for this period. They sell it real cheap, real good stuff.
yeah. And they'll have a digger.
And they'll have a digger on site, yeah. Well, they normally they have a truck on site too because they sell it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they're wearing. What's the name? Ravenswood and all that.
Yeah, well, I see there's a big stack of soil there.
With that. Well, yeah, well, they sell it, you see. Didn't you know the developer? They take all the good topsoil off, take it to the pay, they then put bloody shit stuff in, and then they just spread 100 mil of normal soil, sometimes only 50 mil of good soil over the top, and they sell the good stuff. Wrong with the guy, export all the good dirt out of the area.
Yeah. No, it's been a couple of years. Putting easy lawn. And sides and back. Dogs, because we've got 3 bloody dogs.
What do you put? That imitation stuff.
Yeah, easy lawn. Imitation.
Oh yeah. Easy lawns are normal rolled stuff they get from cardboard.
Oh, no, there's something.
So yeah. There's a guy in Piper got a house, mecking it all the time, and he's got that lawn, artificial lawn, and round his house he's got the garden, he's got he's got there, he's got wee holes and you pay for silk flowers. You can't hold the silk flowers of imitation, and he keeps on swapping.